Defensive positions set up in the city. You didn't find a lot of obstacle work. You did find a lot of bunkers, a lot of spider holes.
On April 7th, the 2nd Brigade launched a second Thunder run into Baghdad.
And initial guidance was a raid into the city and coming back out. But upon further examination of our intelligence that we had and based on our experience of the 5th, our desire was to put together a plan that would allow us to stay in the city.
The 2nd Brigade combat team moved up Highway 8, leaving infantry companies at key intersections, designated Curly, Larry, and Mo, to keep open the lines of communication.
The guidance we gave at the brigade level was do not stop for anything. So as you attacked north on Highway 8, as you came upon an enemy position, you would engage it, and if you did not complete the destruction of that enemy, you would pass it off to the tank or Bradley behind you. He would engage it, so they're continually under fire, but you're not having to stop the column or any singular vehicle to complete the destruction.
The brigade never stopped, turning east against light opposition to occupy Objective Diane at the Park and Monument Complex in downtown Baghdad, as well as the grounds of 2 of Saddam's palaces. And along the line of communication, Highway 8, fighting at the overpasses was intense. The enemy ranged from suicide bombers and Iraqi irregulars in civilian vehicles to regular Army and Republican Guard troops, attacking with tanks and armored vehicles and artillery. As the fighting at all locations continued, the task force fired twice its basic load of ammunition, and fuel was becoming a big concern.
So we only went in with the fuel that was in the tank of the tanks or Bradleys themselves, which was only going to give us 8 to 10 hours of burn time on the fuel that we had on board. At hour 4, I was going to have to make the decision, are we staying in the city or coming out of the city?
To buy time, Colonel Perkins ordered the tanks in Baghdad to shut down their engines for 2 hours to conserve on fuel. A resupply convoy tried to run the gauntlet on Highway 8, but it was ambushed by the enemy.
Almost simultaneously at that point in time, the brigade operations center was hit with a surface-to-surface missile with a result of 5 people killed, over 20 vehicles destroyed, and a lot of seriously injured casualties.
The Tactical Operations Center had been coordinating artillery fire and close air support for the Thunder run. Now it was off the air.
So one might think at this point, you cut your losses and pull out.
But the soldiers of the 2nd Brigade were determined to succeed. A second convoy of supply vehicles raced forward to refuel and rearm the forces there. Colonel Perkins and the 2nd Brigade stayed downtown. It was a major turning point in the war. Their Thunder run had broken the back of conventional resistance and shortened the siege of Baghdad from possibly weeks or months to just 3 more days. Meanwhile, in the Northwest, the 3rd Brigade combat team had been fighting perhaps the most intense urban battle of the Baghdad campaign. It began with heavy Iraqi attacks the night of April 6, as the enemy made a strong effort to seize the bridge across the Tigris River. And it would continue over the next 4 days. To the southeast, the 1st Marine Expeditionary Force had moved up the east side of the Tigris River and entered Baghdad on April 9th against light resistance. Coming down from the north the next day, the 3rd Brigade combat team attacked along the west side of the Tigris and linked up with the forces already in downtown Baghdad. By April 10th, coalition forces had defeated all organized resistance. The live television pictures of the statue of Saddam Hussein, pulled down by the Iraqi people with a little help from U.S. Marines, immediately became the symbol for the end of the brutal regime. After the fall of Baghdad, coalition forces were moved north to Tikrit, Mosul, Kirkuk, and other towns in northern Iraq, where the fighting continued along with the hunt for the Iraqi leadership. The Army's performance in Operation Iraqi Freedom is the result of an Army training strategy that produced soldiers and leaders able to adapt to an extremely hostile and dynamic environment improvise to keep going when battlefield conditions produce a logistic shortfall, adjust their tactics, techniques, and procedures to counter the actions of an adaptive enemy, and win. On May 1st, the President stated,
"In the Battle of Iraq, the United States and our allies have prevailed. And now our coalition is engaged in securing and reconstructing that country."
For the Army, there was and is much more to do.
There's a woman in there, she's alive, she's talking, and she can move all her fingers and toes. She's got pressure on top of her head.
It comes down to trust, and do they believe that what it is you're doing is truly for them versus being truly for you. We didn't go out there and guard the propane plant because America needs propane. We guarded the propane plant to get propane to them so they could cook.
I've watched our men go hungry so that they could help out the people of Iraq.
And there's some bad guys out there, and we're still fighting them, and we'll get them. But I think for the good Iraqi people, it's already on the way, and it's happening now.
I'm happy to see America liberate our country.
With America's help, I hope winning the peace will happen soon. All Arabs want a free Iraq.
We got to work together to rebuild this country.
But we can't afford to fail.
Transition from dictatorship to democracy will take time, but it is worth every effort. Our coalition will stay until our work is done, and then we will leave, and we will leave behind a free Iraq. Thank you for serving our country and our cause.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Saddam Hussein was captured Saturday, December 13th in a cellar in the town of Ad-Duar, which is about 15 kilometers south of Tikrit. This is a great day in Iraq's history. The tyrant is a prisoner. There is a new opportunity for the members of the former regime, whether military or civilian, to end their bitter opposition. For decades, hundreds of thousands of you suffered at the hands of this cruel man. For decades, Saddam Hussein divided you citizens against each other. For decades, he threatened and attacked your neighbors. Those days are over forever. Now it is time to look to the future, to your future of hope, to a future of reconciliation. Iraq's future, your future, has never been more full of hope.
Okay, we're going to be right up on the border.
We're a reserve unit. We never really thought this would happen to us.
Let's go, let's get it going.
The price of the freedom and liberty, democracy.
It's something we needed to do for our country.